Hi, welcome to Algebra video 4.9. So we're going to start on the very back of your packet, page 18, because we have already talked about perfect square trinomials in class. So we're just going to go straight into recognizing different ways to factor. So all of the things that we've talked about, factoring by grouping, GCF, factoring trinomials, difference of squares, and perfect trinomials are all going to be mixed together, and we're going to work on recognizing them. Now, something that I also gave you in class that we're going to use as a tool is our summary sheet right here. So this kind of gives us a flow chart of what we can kind of look at as we are trying to figure out what kind of factoring we can do. So for the first part here, we're not actually going to factor, we're just going to talk about what kind of factoring we could do, and we'll check for each of them here. So first I'm going to check for a GCF. So if there's a GCF, then the same number can go into all of these terms. And in this one, I'm noticing that 3 can go into each one of these terms. So if I can divide all of them by 3, GCF is something I can do. So let's see if there's anything else here. If I factor out a 3, then this one is going to be x squared plus 2x plus 4. And then I have a trinomial, so I can factor and see if that trinomial is prime, or the difference of two squares, or a perfect square trinomial. So it's obviously not the difference of two squares, because then there would only be two numbers. So I'm going to check and see if it's prime or a perfect square trinomial. A perfect square trinomial would mean that this right here, the square root of it, 2, I would double it to make this. So this would have to be 4 for it to be a perfect square trinomial. So it's not a difference of two squares, not a perfect square trinomial. Let's see if it's prime. And for it to be prime, my factor sums table wouldn't work. So my factor and my sums should be a factor of 4, and it should have a sum of 2. So for 4, I've got a couple of choices. I've got 4 and 1 and 2 and 2, or I can have -4, -1, -2, -2. None of those are going to equal 2. This is 5, 4, -5, and -4. So this one, that trinomial there, is prime. Okay, let's try the next one. Difference of two squares. If this is a square and this is a perfect square, and they both are, then this is a difference of two squares. So when I factor it, it would be x minus the square root of 225 is 15, and then x plus 15. Okay, I want you to try the rest of these. Pause it while you give it a try. Okay, here are the answers for the rest of them. So this one's prime, GCF, also a difference of two squares, and then the last one is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, let's try some of the next ones here. So we're going to use our flow chart to kind of help us out. So the first thing we're going to do is take a look and see if we can factor out a GCF. So in here, x's and y's, neither of them or none of them all have the same variable. And then 2, 3, and 5 do not have a common factor. So we can't factor out a GCF. So now we're going to go to the number of terms. This has 3 terms in it. So now, once we know it's 3 terms, we're going to look and see. This is for if the number in front of, if there is no number in front of x, or if there is a number in front of x. So there is a number in front of x, so we're going to find the factors of this number times this number. So 2 times -3 is -6, so we want the factor of -6, and we want our sum to be -5. So factors of -6, I'm thinking -3 and 2, and if I add those together, that gives me -1. However, if I have -6 and 1, if I add those together, I'm going to get -5. So then my next step, I'm going to split b into the factors and rewrite it. So now I have 2x squared minus 6xy plus 1xy, and then I'm rewriting this, negative 3y squared. Now I'm going to factor by grouping. So right here, I can take out 2x. Dividing that by 2x, I just get x minus 6 divided by 2 is 3. The x's cancel out, and the y is still there. And then this one, I'm going to pull out a y, so plus y. And so I get x minus 3y. And so then these go together, so 2x plus y, and then x minus 3y. So that's my final answer on that one. Okay, let's try another one. So we're going to start by checking for GCF. So on this one, 7, 21, -7, -21, I can pull out a 7 there. So my GCF is 7. So I've got 7, and so then x to the third plus 3x squared minus x minus 3. Okay, now that I factored out my GCF, I have 4 terms. So I'm going to go over here to 4 terms, and 4 terms tells me that I should try factoring by grouping. So I'm going to take a look at these and these. So I've got 7. I'm going to switch to brackets here just to differentiate what I'm doing. So I'm going to pull out an x squared. And then if I take x to the third divided by x squared, I get x plus 3x squared divided by x squared is just 3. Here I'm going to pull out a -1. And then that's x plus 3. Now I'm going to rearrange this a little bit. So I have x plus 3, x squared minus 1. Now I am going to notice right here that this is a difference of 2 squares. X squared is a perfect square and 1 is a perfect square. So that becomes x plus 1, x minus 1. And then that is as factored as it can get. Okay, let's do one more here. So this one, we've got checking for A, factoring out the GCF first. So 2. And so this is going to be y to the 4th minus 50 divided by 2 is 25. This is a difference of 2 squares. So the square root of y to the 4th power is y to the 2nd power. And the square root of 25 is 5. So I have y squared plus 5 and y squared minus 5. And then none of these can be broken down anymore. So that is my final factoring on that one. Okay, I want you to try the next 3. Use your flow chart to help you if you get confused as to what to do. So pause it, give those a try, and then come back and take a look at the answers. Okay, there are my answers right here. So the ones that are boxed in are what you can check. Make sure you mark anything that's a question for you so that you can ask it in class, and we will do some more practice on mixing all of our factoring strategies together next class.